Good morning, everybody. Are you ready? Are you ready? Today is the Wednesday. We are ready. Yes, we are. I know you're like, what are we ready for, Barbara? The gym owner, so of course. Duh. What's wrong with you? If you don't know about what's on every Wednesday now with Mr. Barry Mixon, then something is wrong. Your head is in the sand. I don't know what's going on. You need help. We need to get you some medication. On that end, before we bring on the wonderful and magnificent, and I can't just think of so many other adjectives for him, but all I have to say is that he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy, and I really appreciate him and love him dearly. I just want to say real quickly, because I always want to, you want to give people their flowers while they're here. And I always believe in that. I used to be the type of person that I was so busy doing stuff, and well, I'm still busy, but in a way where you need to acknowledge and give people, and just tell them sometimes you appreciate them, or, you really care about them, or you're thinking about them. So, that's a tip for everybody today is, just if it's just one person right now, I'm not going to push you to say, how some people say, find 10 people and say this. Just one. So my one is going to be Mr. Barry. Barry, I really appreciate you. You are so awesome. You're so supportive, not just for me on this show, but everything else that I do. And there's a lot of things that I wouldn't be doing right now, as far as speaking, and some other things. Sometimes he listens to me rant and rave about stuff. But you know what? Sometimes you need that sounding board. That's where true friends, true people that are in your corner that will be there and say, you know what? Go ahead. Say what you got to say. You got to let it out. So I just want everybody to know that really understand the people in your life that are there for you that's really supporting you. And sometimes it's not that many. So appreciate those. Appreciate Barry. And I'm going to get into, I was going to give you a little something just to think about, something like a quote or, a little passage that I found. So today, and this fits right into what I'm talking about, because I'm talking about understanding your emotions. So understand how your emotions influence your actions. Through understanding how your emotions influence your actions, you will become knowledgeable of why you make your choices. Recognize the power your emotions hold over the choices you make before, and they have this in caps, before you make a choice, okay? Choose whether to follow an emotional choice or seek counsel from your rational mind. Realize how your feelings are driving you and harness this power. This will assist you with making wise choices, okay, rather than hindering your progress. Today, realize your emotions are meant to serve and rather than to be served by you. So basically, the whole thing is, don't let all your emotions always control everything, because sometimes we can get into so much that we might make some choices, and I'm sorry because my eyes are watering, make choices that's all emotional, and then you look back and you're like, oh, wait a minute. That was, maybe I should have made that choice at that time. Maybe I should have sat and, excuse me, my sinuses and my allergies just kicked in all at one time. And maybe you should be making those choices when you kind of work things out and settle things in. So with that, you want to make sure that when you're making those choices, it's emotional to think about it, but you don't want to overdo it and be like, oh, I was just so this, and I'm like, oh no, did I make that decision that time? Well, I was kind of, overdrawn by emotions. So with that, one thing that I'm not overdrawn by emotions right now is, thanking people that always support me. So I would get very emotional about that. And with this, I know you're waiting on Barry. I mean, I can sit there and talk, but no. You're here for the gem on the show. You're not here just for me. So we're going to start the show. Got to get myself together here. So with that said, we're going to go right into, now remember, this wonderful guy, this my friend, this the gem hunter, he's on for the hour. He started last Wednesday, like I said. Get ready. I know he has some awesome information he's going to give you today. So here we go.
Good morning, bonjour, ni hao, hola, bienvenue, wan ying, bienvenidos, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Gem Hunter. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemological storyteller. And each and every week, I have the amazing opportunity to come into your home on your tablet, on your television, on your computer, and take you on a journey to places that you've never seen or heard of before. I get to take you on an adventure that spans the whole history of mankind. And each week, you and I will dwell into the art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry. See, I believe that gemstones, that this mental, the physical, the spiritual aspects of gemstones can be used as a template, as an inception point, as a bridge to help you discover the value of your own stories. And not only your own stories, but the stories of the people around you, the stories of the person sitting right across that table eating breakfast with you. I think that when we begin to discover our own value by hearing stories, the world around us changes. One of the greatest things that I have learned with gemstones is that nothing has value without a story. Today, I'm really excited. Last week, we talked about a dichroscope. And quite a few people had emailed me. And please, I invite all of you to email me. Barbara, go ahead and put my email address on the screen. Email me. I want this to be a program of discovery for all of us because, yes, I am a gemological storyteller. I am an appraiser of gemstones and precious metals. And each and every day, I learn more things. So, and I'm not, as my mentor and I'm a guru, Robert James has teaching me. I'm still a student at the International School of Gemology. And what he teaches is that you will never, he's been doing jewelry forever, literally, I think 40, 50 years. Sorry, Robert, not to make you that old, but he looks great. But there's always something to learn. And when I study gemology, what hits me is just the relationship of not only just the gemstones, but the relationship that it has with all of us. And it's amazing to have this opportunity to speak to you because I've been thinking about some of this for 18 years. So, as I was saying, last week we talked about the dicroscope. The dicroscope is a gemological piece of equipment that literally allows people like myself, gemologists and appraisers, to do something really magical. With a dicroscope, and this is the London, this is called the London dicroscope. This is the London dicroscope here, and here is called a calcite dicroscope. And what these do is they take a gemstone or a mineral called calcite. And when you put calcite, make it flat, make it into a filter. When you take calcite, what it does is when you put it perpendicular to each other, it creates a polarizing filter, which means that it allows only light that travels in that direction to get through. So what a dicroscope does is it allow you to see things that your eyes can't see. So when you're looking at a ruby, you're actually looking at, you see the color red, but ruby actually has two colors, red and pink. And some people didn't understand that. So what happens is you have 3 or 4 different categories. You have something that's called, I'm not going to get too technical, something that's isotropic, which means like a diamond, like spinel or a garnet. So which means the color that you see when light hits a diamond, when light hits spinel, literally the light travels in a straight direction. It doesn't break off. That's isotropic. Then you have other categories. You have what's called diachronic, which means when the light comes in, it splits into 2 separate rays. And then you have trichronic. So something like this dichronic is rubies, emeralds, sapphires, or dichronic. You see blue, but there's other colors. And using the dicroscope, you can see those other colors. Then you have gemstones that are trichronic, which means that when the light goes through, it splits into 3 different rays. My good friend Diana Lewis and people who are Sunina Thomas, people who are born in December, their birthstone is tanzanite. One of their birthstones is tanzanite. So the amazing thing about tanzanite, what makes it so beautiful and rare, is the fact that it is a gem material that splits light into 3 separate components. And then the last category is something that's pleochronic. Pleo means many. So you have some gemstone that split into more than 2 or 3 colors. So what a dicroscope does, whether it be the calcite, this is not actually the right one, either the calcite dicroscope or a London dicroscope, it splits those, it tells me what those gemstones are. Remember, what we're talking about is gem identification. And I've been talking about this. This is episode 30. And I've been talking about this from the beginning because one of the most important things that I need to know how to do as a gemologist is to be able to identify what is a gemstone. What is a gemstone? And we talked about the attributes of a gemstone. And when I started learning gemology, actually the dicroscope was one of the first pieces of gemological equipment that got me starting to think about the connection between people and gemology, because I was going through I started my journey in gemology while I was married to my second wife, and we were going through interesting things. And I remember thinking to myself, we had an argument, and I was downstairs in the basement doing my studying, and I was learning about the dicroscope. And I remember thinking to myself, how cool would it be if I had a dicroscope? If we as human beings had dicroscopes where we could literally see the person and then use a much larger version, obviously, but to use a dicroscope to be able to see what that person is beyond what we see. Beyond what we see. My wife, my second wife especially, was beautiful, gorgeous, spectacular to me. I remember when I got married, and I remember looking at her down the end of the aisle, thinking, literally saying to God, true story. I was standing there at the altar. We had an outdoor wedding, and the sun just hit her. And she had on, actually, interesting enough, she had on this beautiful green dress that my friend and best friend and business partner, Cosette Barrett, who's watching today, hey, Cosette, helped her put on. And I remember looking up to God and saying, God, thank you so much. I'm good. I'm good. You can move on and bless someone else. I'm good. Had I had a microscope, I would have known that even though she was spectacularly beautiful, she was that woman. Remember that quote from the Obsession commercial? She was like a fever from which I shall never recover. That's who she was for me. And if I had a microscope, I would have seen, maybe not. So a microscope can be used. If we had a microscope, we could not only not just see the bad stuff, but to see the things that they are. As Robert James likes to say, we as gemologists, our job is not to figure out what it is. Our primary job in gem identification is to figure out what it's not. Remember I talked about one of the attributes of gemstones is durability? Well, my beautiful wife was highly educated, master's degree, things of this, but she was also an alcoholic. Who knew? She was also a drug addict, cocaine. Went to work every day, functional. Which was interesting because, again, I've told you many times, my mom was an alcoholic. So if I had a microscope, I would have been able to say, hey, I've recognized this before. Not that she's bad. That's just where she was. So if we all had microscopes, we would see the person that we're looking at, not just what we see physically, our eyes see, but all the other colors. And the reason why I bring that up is because of what our topic is today. We are going to talk about Cleopatra, the seventh, and emeralds. When I think about Cleopatra, I want you to get out of today's show understanding that Cleopatra was an absolutely fantastic woman. Just fantastic, extraordinary. The more things that I read about her, literally books. I mean, I've just been going through books and about her. And the reason why a microscope would be so wonderful in studying Cleopatra, if the world had a microscope, then they would understand who Cleopatra was. This weekend, I had the pleasure of watching the original 1963 movie. Actually, it's the 50th anniversary of the 1963 movie Cleopatra, the one with Rex Harrison, Richard Burton, and of course Elizabeth Taylor. And what I can tell you, 5 hours and 20 minutes. I didn't watch it all at one time. It was just, wow. It was, let me tell you the good stuff first. It was spectacularly epic in what it's doing. When you have to remember the scenery, the sets, and things of this was before CGI. So all those sets, the boats, the mansion, the chateau that she lived in, the ships, the thousands of people, those people were real. They didn't have extras or computer graphics where they can put 1 million people in an empty stand. Those were real people. Those were real extras. The boats, the Cleopatra almost bankrupt 20th Century Fox. It was so out of budget, over its budget. So it was beautiful. And I think it did win an Academy Award in cinematography. But the rest, the rest was so wrong. Was so wrong. If you had if you saw just what Cleopatra, if you knew what Cleopatra really was, and based on that movie, oh, it's two different people. It's two different people. So let me just give you a brief history of Cleopatra to get you to understand why I started out by saying Cleopatra was one of the most extraordinary woman who have ever walked the planet Earth. And I'm not saying that there's not a lot then and there's even more now. But when I talk about the value, the understanding the value of somebody's story, Cleopatra is the quintessential example of that. She was a queen. She became a queen at 18. She was forced to marry her brother, and her brother was 10. So any of you have children or younger brothers, or you remember how he was, I have a nephew, Bryson, who's 8. So I can imagine, I can imagine what it would be like to be 18 years old and have to marry your brother. That's one. That was by law. Then her brother, they lived together, they worked together, they ruled together. This was by law. They had to be married. They ruled together for a little while. And then, of course, because he was 10, he started listening to other people, and people was like whispering in his ear, yo, why you letting your sister run the thing? Man, you a man. You a man. You should be in charge. Yeah, you know how men are. Yeah, you right. You right. I don't have to take that. So what he did was he exiled her. He exiled Cleopatra to Syria, thinking that he was going to get rid of her. Eventually, he was going to kill her. But right now, let me just get her out the way. So Cleopatra, what people don't know, what that movie didn't talk about at all, what Cleopatra did was the same thing people are doing today. Cleopatra went to Syria, and the thing what people don't understand about Cleopatra is Cleopatra owned an emerald mine. She owned an emerald mine. And before I go more into Cleopatra, let me get you to understand. Let today be the last day in your life that you don't understand the power of emeralds. I didn't even like emeralds when I first started years ago, again, 18 years ago. When I first looked at emeralds, when I first started emeralds I've always liked them. They were cool. They were green. I like the color green. Lord knows I wore green for how many years in the Marine Corps. So green is my thing. Black, green. I'm kind of plain with colors. Black, green, gray, blue. So I liked emeralds, but I didn't really understand emeralds until I started studying gemology. And what I want to tell you, I'm not going to let you wait as long as I did to understand emeralds. Those of you who are born in May, those of you, I made a mistake last week. The wedding anniversary for emeralds is the 35th year of marriage. The 35th year of marriage is the emeralds, the gemstone for the 35th year, not the 31st, 5th year. So I didn't understand the power of emeralds. So when I say that Cleopatra owned an emerald mine, what I'm saying is at that time, she owned the greatest gemstone, the greatest piece of wealth other than land. And the thing about Cleopatra's emerald mines was at that time, that was the only source of emeralds for the whole entire world. Everybody came to Egypt to get emeralds. And you have to understand that emeralds, gemstones, but emeralds is the reason why the world was opened up. Alexander the Great, the reason why he conquered most of the known world was really looking for gemstones. Lapis, emeralds, gold, silver. That's why he went. Persia had unbelievable gemstone and precious metal wealth. That's why he went. So that was the source of Cleopatra's power. And yet in the movie, the only thing that she had green on was at one scene she wore a green dress, beautiful green dress, emerald green dress. That's the only time you saw that she had the source of her power. They put, so back to emeralds. Emeralds. So as much as people loved emeralds coming from Egypt, when they got to South America, when they got to Central America, and when the conquistadors found the emeralds that was in Brazil and Colombian emeralds, they went insane. They went insane. You don't understand. Long before, as one of my favorite authors wrote in her book Stoned, she said that emeralds, when you talk about, yes, diamonds are the gemstone of today, but emeralds have been the gemstones from the beginning of time. That's the thing about gemology. I need you to understand that gemology, gemstones, this emerald has been around, has existed millions of years before humans came on the planet, and they will exist millions of years afterwards. So the most exciting thing about gemstones is that gemstones are markers throughout history. So, and we'll do another show on the Spaniards and their relationship with emeralds. So I'm saying that it's because that's what Cleopatra had. The reason why Napoleon loved emeralds was because of Cleopatra, because of what he learned, not from us, so much Cleopatra, for what he learned from Julius Caesar. So I want you to understand that here is a 1820, at that time when she met Julius Caesar, she was about 21, 22 years old. So let's go back to, excuse me one sec, where I left you last week. Okay. Cleopatra, and I want you to understand, when her brother exiled her to Syria, she used emeralds to demonstrate her power. People understood emeralds because emeralds were just all that in the bag of chips. All emeralds, if you had emeralds, you were Bill Gates, you were Jeff Bezos, you were whoever is rich. That's who you are. So she wore emeralds. So people automatically figured that if she had emeralds, she has to be rich. And she was rich. She was the richest woman on the planet at that time. She had emerald mines and gold mines, just to let you know. She wasn't short stepping on that either. So when her brother exiled her to Syria, that's how she kept her power. That's how she stayed relevant. She was already a pharaoh before she got exiled. They were sharing power together. When she got to Syria, that's when she became famous. That's when everybody was talking about her. She became famous because of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, because I'm going to get you to understand why it was so powerful that when she stood on that stage and looked at Julius Caesar and said, voila, I'm going to get you to understand why that was so profound. But right now we're going to take a commercial break. All right, we're back. We're talking about emeralds. Like I told you, emeralds. Emeralds are the most extraordinary gemstone in the whole gemstone universe. I don't think there's any gemstone, except maybe with the exception of pearls, that has changed the history of mankind as much as emeralds. And just real quick, you see that light coming from that emerald? Not only was it highly revered in Egypt, but in Central America, in South America, the reason why the Incas didn't mind giving the conquistadors the gold and the silver, because for them gold and silver was sweat from the sun, which is amazing when you understand that the Incas understood the science of gold, because that's where gold comes from the universe. From the beginning, the origins of the universe, that's where this comes from, the gold ring. But for the Incas, they believed that their gods lived in emeralds. That light you see, that was the embodiment of their God. So they didn't care about the gold. Take the gold. We're going to keep the emeralds. So that's the amazing thing about gemstones. People, we live in a world where people fight about everything. Everything we fight about. Democrats, Republicans, up, down, male, female. But with gemstones, people don't fight about gemstones. There's a unifying force to gemstones. People in Asia loved emeralds. People in Middle East loved emeralds. People, Napoleon absolutely adored emeralds. Spain literally is not even a country. Spain lost its power 500 years ago because of emeralds. In Central America, in the Pacific Islands, they all love emeralds. Emeralds, jewelry, gemstones bring us all together. So, with that understanding of the power of emeralds, here we are. Cleopatra, exiled in Syria. She decides to come back. She knows that what she has to do is get help. Even though she's powerful, she's not powerful enough to dethrone her brother. So what she did was thinking. Ladies, thinking. She put it together that what she needed to do was get with Julius Caesar. So what she did was she snuck back into Egypt. She took an 8-hour trip down the 8-day trip down the Nile in disguise, undercover. And I want you to understand how bad this sister was. Her brother didn't just have a few troops or a few, people looking for her. He had an entire army. You got to be a bad sister just to even say, you know what, I'm going back and take it. I don't understand why we don't see Cleopatra pictures everywhere. Okay, or at least every other girl child should be named Cleopatra. She was like unbelievable. She went through an army in a boat. And we're not talking about the boats like we have nowadays. In one of those boats you see on TV, hidden, wrapped up in a carpet into an army encampment. The best troops of the Egyptian army was looking for her to kill her. She got there, landed, wrapped up in a carpet. And think about the power of the power of control, understanding your value. She laid in a rug. So she had to be cool, and she had to get the people that was carrying her to be cool. Because I'm sitting there thinking to myself as I'm reading this, here you are, the guy carrying this rug, and you know that if they kill her, you dying. And you black? Yeah, you're not going. You're not. That's another thing about Cleopatra in the movie. Where are the black people? I mean, Egypt is in Africa, and you would think you would see more black people. The only time you saw black people in a 5-hour and 20-minute movie was the dancers and the slaves. Amazing. Anyhow, she went through an army, carried in a rug. They had to go through all his troops, all his legions. And Roman legions were awesome. Roman military is still studied today in military history. Went through all that. They brought her to Julius Caesar camp. They laid the rug out. In the movie, he cut the strings, but I believe, and the things I read, is her slave, her servant, cut the well, it was really her servant, cut the strings, and when she rolled out of that carpet and said, voila, she totally blew Julius Caesar's mind. Now, I would be impressed if she looked like, J-Lo. If J-Lo rolled out of the carpet and they showed that, you'd be like, well, I mean, come on, look at her. If Rihanna rolled out the carpet looking like Rihanna, I'd be like, yeah, okay. But this is what Cleopatra looked like. There's very few pictures of Cleopatra. And this is coming from an actual ancient Egyptian coin. This is what Cleopatra looked like. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take the myth. You remember that scene in Malcolm X? You've been bamboozled, led astray, run amok. That's what we have all been told, that Cleopatra was this beautiful, spectacular, beautiful woman. She wasn't. She was fat, plain looking. Yeah. That's what they said. And she was short. She wasn't even 5 feet tall. She was like 4'9", something. So when she rolled out of the carpet and said, voila, to Julius Caesar, it's not because of the way she looked. And you have to understand who Julius Caesar was. Julius Caesar was the biggest player on the planet at that time. I mean, Julius Caesar was a freak. I'm reading this saying, oh my God, a whole nation followed this guy. Julius Caesar went both ways. He would, as I told you last week, he would take people's women. Little wives, husbands, husbands too, wives, daughters, grandmothers, mother. He didn't care. If we can go back in time and me and Barbara went in together and Julius Caesar held the Julius Caesar television network and we're negotiating this and having my show on or having the Diamond Factor on. And then at the end of the meeting, okay, nice meeting you, Caesar. Hey, nice meeting you, Mr. Barry. Okay, see you later. And then come on, Barbara. And Julius Caesar would say, Barbara, you stay. What? Yeah, that's Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was so cold. He loved jewelry. Loved it. He loved pearls. Most of Julius Caesar's conquest was really to get more gemstones, especially pearls. Julius Caesar was so cold that Julius Caesar he had hundreds of women, and he still was married. He had hundreds of women, which was cool during the Roman culture. But he had one woman named Servilia. He gave Servilia, and let me tell you the significance of Servilia. Servilia was the mother of Brutus. Yes, that Brutus. Remember et tu Brutus? So there's a possibility that Brutus was Julius's son, Julius Caesar's son. So when he said et tu Brutus, it was because he saw his son with a knife stabbing him up just like everybody else. But Julius Caesar loved his mother, Servilia. He gave Servilia a pearl. He gave her one pearl, a black pearl that he probably got from Gaul, which is like around England, the way what England was called, upper Europe. He got it from Gaul. That's why he went to England for pearls. That much I knew a long time ago. I didn't know about the pearl. He gave this woman, she was so special, even though he had 500 other women and wives, this woman was so perfect to him that he gave her a pearl that was worth, ready? 600 million sesterces, whatever the name of their money is. You know what that translates to in 2020 money? 1.5 billion with a B, like Barry, $1 billion. $1.5 billion in the history of jewelry. There is nothing, and nor will there ever be a piece of gemstone that has that type of value. $1.5 billion. He gave it to her as a gift. So it's not that Julius Caesar did not have women and men that he can go to. So when he saw, I started to say Elizabeth Taylor, when he saw Cleopatra roll out of that rug, it wasn't because of her looks. She didn't look like this. She didn't look like this. It's because she had emeralds. So when Julius Caesar saw this woman who was the richest woman in the world, who was a queen, who spoke 9 different languages, who had an ability, what they call, new word for me at least, paranormal, paraternatural. Paraternatural means gifts above and beyond anything that anybody even thought humans can do. She was so clairvoyant. They said, I've read, God knows how much I've read basically on her. She was so good at reading people. If you walked into the room, it was you knew that you were going to be entranced, that you were going to be intoxicated. You could not. The people loved her. She reigned for 22 years. We got presidents that only last 4. She reigned for 22 years. And I'm not making a comment about Trump. I'm just saying how hard it is to stay in power. And we're talking about her. She was a woman in a man's world, being looked at by Rome wanted Egypt. Syria wanted Egypt. God knows how many other African nation states wanted Egypt because of what they had. And for 22 years, this woman was able to keep them all at bay. She survived an insurrection. She survived droughts. She survived a major flood that happened during that time. Cleopatra didn't die at someone else's hands like everybody else did. She killed herself. So that is what the woman that when we talked about Cleopatra, that's who she was. And gentlemen, Cleopatra, and ladies, you can learn so much about Cleopatra. Yes. Did she murder her sister and her brother? Yeah, she sure did. And her siblings? Yeah, she did. But she was nothing like the way they portrayed her in the movie. Nothing. That was the most painful part to watching that movie. 5 hours, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is not even who she was. Why did they portray the importance of telling a story? Here's a woman that has done all that she did. One of the most powerful nations in the history of the world. She was the first civilization. China wasn't even a thought yet. China was 800,000 years away. We won't even talk about England or European. She was the first. So why is she portrayed as just some trollop? That's it. When Cleopatra didn't just change the lives of the people in Egypt, she changed the lives of the people in Rome. Remember that scene? Those of you who remember the movie, there's a scene, which was actually a true story, when she rolled into Rome for the first time on a huge barge that was like a mansion. Cleopatra was an expert in medicine, an expert in scents. She created perfume. Roman women knew nothing about makeup. Nothing about makeup. Cleopatra taught her that. In fact, when she came down river, she literally was such an expert of marketing, of selling her brand, of telling her story, that she sent out fragrance. So it intoxicated everybody that was on the shore, on both sides of the shore. Mark Antony started falling in love with Cleopatra the second he saw her. He was just waiting for Julius Caesar to do whatever. She wasn't some trollop. Just some scandalous woman, a succubus. No, that's what they want you to believe. Because she looked like this. Because she looked like that. Because think about it, from a man's point of view, nobody Egyptian wrote Cleopatra's story. It was Romans that wrote the story. Because Romans did not think about it ladies, think about it from a man's point of view. You do not want to be known as someone who was intoxicated by a woman, and that woman is not the prettiest thing in the world. Yeah, you want her. It's easy to say, oh, she looked like J-Lo. She looked like, Elizabeth Taylor. She looked like, whoever is gorgeous to you. That's what they want you to believe she looked like. So then the way you would understand why she was so intoxicating. No, what made Cleopatra beautiful was her mind, was her spirit. She was a mom. She had one child with Caesar. She had 3 other kids with Mark Antony. She was a wonderful woman because she was down for her man. I know they like to make you think that she just slept around. She only had 2 men in her life. 2. Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. So ladies, you got to give it up for her at all. I mean, this got to be a bad sister to just roll up, go through an army, roll up, voila. And she was so cold that when the first time she got with Julius Caesar, she turned him out. She turned him out. He went back home and changed laws because of her. He built a whole monument to her. He stopped messing around. Ladies, give her props. He went from being a serial a serial hoe, okay? And he was he had one woman, Cleopatra. Cleopatra was down for Julius Caesar. Cleopatra intoxicated his mind. Cleopatra made him think about colors and how he can live. He didn't become an emperor until he met Cleopatra in his heart, in his mind, in his spirit. So when Caesar, who started getting really, really, really full of himself, believed that he didn't, Cleopatra was the one that told him, baby, don't go. Baby, don't go. They're going to kill you. They're going to kill you. She told him that. She warned him that he was going to kill. And what kind of cracks me up was because he was so haughty about the whole thing. He was the emperor. He was a Caesar. They killed him as soon as he walked in the door. I mean, they just took him out as soon as he walked in the door. And he got stabbed like 23 times. I mean, that's just, yeah. She told him. So she was a politician. She was brilliant. She was extraordinarily brilliant. She knew the science. She knew everything a man knew, but yet that's how she was portrayed as just this loose harlot. The importance of stories, what you can do with stories, and the importance of being able to tell your story, because if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. Somebody else will. So this is the end of May. Well, our next episode, I'm going to just discuss a little bit about her relationship with Mark Antony. Here's Mark Antony and Cleopatra together. You can see she kind of looks like Mark Antony. They had 3 kids together, and then of course both of them reached the end of their demise. But what I want you to get out of this story, that we don't have microscopes. We can't look at someone to tell who that person is just by looking at them. We have to all do what gemologists have to do with appraisers. We have to understand the story of someone in order to figure out what their value is. So again, as I always tell you, my name is Barry Mixon. I'm a gemological storyteller. I want you to take some time this week until we meet again to look at your friends, to look at yourself, look at your loved ones, and discover the value of your story. Au revoir.
I'm hanging on your every word, the love inside, I feel it burn. I've never felt this way before. I've had a taste, now I want more. So here we are, just you and me. I'm overwhelmed when you touch me. You talk so sweet, I hear the sound, 'cause when you do, my feet won't touch the ground.
OMG. Woo, woo. Oh my God. First of all, I got to laugh a little bit. When Barry showed that last picture of her husband and Cleopatra, I'm like, they look like twins. I didn't know who was the man and who was the woman. I'm just being honest. Sorry. If I didn't see the little pearls or whatever on the other one, I was like, okay, that's Cleopatra. That's kind of sad because, like Barry said, when you watch the movie, this is Hollywood, okay? I told Barry the other day, I said, it's entertainment, it's Hollywood. You know they're going to make her into something that she's not. Going right into that, like he said, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. I love how he brought that to the end because through everything he was talking about, he kept saying over and over again that they did not portray Cleopatra the way she really was. And then when he said she wasn't, because when you see, okay, hopefully everybody seen, well, I know it's 5 hours long, but if you didn't see the movie Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor and her real life husband and on and off with a whole bunch of other ones, we're not going to go there. That's a whole nother movie called Elizabeth Taylor and her husbands. But besides that, if you didn't see the movie, every time she came out, she was just like stunning. I mean, she was beautiful. And then for Barry to sit there and say, she wasn't all that. It was just her mind. She was fat. She was short. I'm like, Dad, I can't. I don't know this. See, now he's messing everything up now because I keep going back to the movie. And I was like, huh? But see, this tells you right there again about people telling your story compared to what you're saying about your story. And I was bringing up a quote that about impact. And this is just, I'm going to read it real quickly before we end. Every action we take impacts the lives of others around us. So she created impact around the lives of others. The question is, are you aware of your impact? So I'm saying that because she created a different impact than what we kind of know of if you don't really learn her story. See, Barry's given us the true raw facts of Cleopatra's story. Hollywood gave us not. So that's why every Wednesday I love seeing this show because I'm learning how my history, I hate to put her on blast. My history teacher and some other people around, when I was growing up, was giving me the wrong story, was giving me the wrong stories. And then now I'm learning, I'm still young at heart. I'm learning that those stories was a little twisted. And now I'm getting the meaning of it. Then when you get the meaning of the true story, then you get the meaning of the impact, the real impact of what that person brought. So thank you, Barry, for being always my historic person every Wednesday with the Gem Hunter and everybody out there. I'm seeing so many people coming on. See, I'm loving this. They're showing the love, Barry, the support. I see there's people from YouTube, from E360 TV. I mean, Facebook. I mean, we had at least 20 people on just on Facebook alone. I was like, wow, see, everybody, I'm telling you, if you don't know about the Gem Hunter Show, your head's in the sand. Now I ask you, I have an ask for everybody. If you just tell another person about coming on, coming to see, tune in on the Diamond Factor Show, Diamond Factor Spirit Show with Barbara Beckley and guests and experts. One of the experts on Wednesday and his show comes on the Gem Hunter every Wednesday, start at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. See, that's why I don't like time zones. That's why I tell you, but I tell you too, you figure out the rest. So with that, he comes on every Wednesday. And if you tell a friend, just tell a friend. If you hear good, Barry always says, good story, you're going to tell somebody else. So tell somebody else about this show because it's a good show. And if you not, I'm just not saying that because I love the show. I'm saying it because it's true. I told you everything that I'm learning. I'm gaining so much knowledge and so much of understanding what impact people really portrayed and not just what people tell you. So see, that's another wisdom tactic that people need to think about is don't always go by first impressions of what people saying. Learn from yourself. Do your research. Ask those questions. I mean, we have Google University. We have YouTube University, I call them. Go and cite out what people are about. And then you can tell yourself, okay, what kind of impact did they make in people's lives? And then you might resonate and say, okay, they might do something similar that I'm doing. I can learn from them. But if you get the total, the story that's not right, then you're going to be off. And you don't want that to happen, especially when you're talking about something. Because I was talking about Cleve. I said, oh, yeah, she's pretty. And now I can't say that no more. So she had a good mind. I got to stop right there. Yeah, she has good impact on mine. And that's it. I got to get Elizabeth Taylor out of my head. So with that, Barry, thank you so much again from another wonderful gem hunter. You'll see him next Wednesday. Tomorrow we have Miss Laura Armstrong. She's going to be coming in. You know, she moved from Wednesdays to Thursdays. And then we have a special guest I'm bringing on. And he's part of, well, it's funny because he visited my Toastmaster club many, many times. His name is incredible because I just noticed that he was a doctor. He has his PhD. I was like, oh my God, I'm bringing in greatness here. So Michael Alexander, he's going to be coming on tomorrow and talking a little bit about himself. He's a professional speaker. He's a mentor, and he really believes in like the art of understanding, minorities and how we need to kind of get together and understand who we are. And just like Barry said, understand each other's stories so we can talk, we can communicate. So he's very, 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 really pro at doing that. And I told him I wanted to come on the show and talk a little bit about that. So like I said, this is about awareness, but I always say motivational and educating people. That's what the Diamond Factor Experience show is all about. So that's why I need to always bring in that. If I'm not bringing the value, then I might as well just say, cut. We got to revamp or we're done. So always value. So with that, I always say, understand what I go always back to with everything we talk about. I always call your foundation, your PPD, your purpose, your passion, and your drive. And as you can see in these shows that come on, people really know their purpose. They're bringing their passion with it and their drive. They're bringing those stories, things that kind of just say, why am I doing this again? Oh, yeah, because this happened to me when I was younger. This happened to me there. And I want people to know that they have hope, that they can get the knowledge, that they can move forward in their lives through my stories, through the stories that we tell about others. So remember your PPD, stay on that, because everything else that's going to happen in your life, it's going to happen. You're going to have the trials. You're going to have the tribulations. You're going to have the earthquakes. You're going to have the pandemic, whatever. All that's still going to be flying all over the place. Just like, the Wizard of Oz when she was going up and everything was flying. Remember all that? And she was just sitting there, holding on to the bed. You hold on to your PPD. If you hold on to your PPD, then you will be strong to get through what you need to get through. With that, we will see you. Yes, we will see you tomorrow. Bye.